So it's been over a month now since the conflict with Iran really kicked off, and President Trump finally gave a primetime address to the nation. You'd think a big speech like that would clear things up, but honestly, it seems to have left a lot of people with more questions than answers. It was this strange mix of promising peace while also threatening to ramp things up. So what was the real message? Let's try to break it all down. Just to give you a sense of the tone here, the rhetoric from the president was, well, it was incredibly strong. This one quote really captures that intensity. It gives you a pretty chilling idea of the kind of conflict the administration has in mind. The stakes are obviously sky high.
Okay, so to get a real handle on what's going on, we're going to look at this in 5 parts. First, we'll dive into the president's speech itself and that confusing message. Then, we'll look at what the administration says its goals actually are. After that, we have to talk about the price of this conflict, then how it seems to be spreading, and we'll wrap up with a really pointed question that came directly from Iran.
All right, first up, the president's address. Right at the very heart of this speech, there's this big contradiction, a real tension between the timeline he gave and the actions he's planning.
And this is where it gets super confusing. See, on one hand, the president stood there and promised the American people this war would be over soon. But then, in almost the same breath, he described a plan for a major escalation, saying the plan was to hit them extremely hard. So, which is it? Is the war ending, or is it just getting started?
He also used some, let's say, peculiar phrasing. He actually referred to this whole military conflict as his little journey to Iran. It's definitely a choice of words that stands out when you're talking about war.
Okay, so putting the confusing language aside for a second, what are the actual goals here? That brings us to our second section, the stated objectives. What is the administration actually trying to accomplish with all this?
The president laid out 3 really clear, core objectives. First, to completely destroy Iran's ability to produce missiles. Second, to basically dismantle their entire navy. And third, the big one, to make absolutely 100% sure that Iran does not get its hands on a nuclear weapon.
And how's it going? Well, according to the administration's own assessment, things are going great. The president said that these key objectives are, and I'm quoting here, nearing completion. So from his perspective, the mission is pretty much on the brink of success. But claims of success are one thing. What is the actual cost of this conflict back here at home? That brings us to Section 3, the price of conflict. And we're talking about both the human cost and the economic cost for Americans.
The human cost has been tragic. 13 American service members have lost their lives. One of them was Master Sergeant Nicole from White Bear Lake. She was only 39. And she was killed in an Iranian drone strike in Kuwait just last month.
And while families are grieving that unimaginable loss, pretty much everyone is feeling the economic pain at the pump. Gas prices have shot past $4 a gallon across the country. We haven't seen prices that high in years. That's a direct hit to the wallet for millions of American households.
So why the sudden spike? Well, the official explanation from the administration, stated by the president himself, is that it's all because of what he called deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers that were launched by Iran.
And those attacks he mentioned, they're actually a perfect example of how this whole conflict is just refusing to stay contained. And that brings us to our 4th section. This is a widening war. The fight is clearly escalating and spreading way beyond just Iran's borders.
I mean, just look at what's been happening. We saw a drone attack that started a huge fire at a fuel warehouse up in northern Iraq. That warehouse is owned by a subsidiary of the British oil company BP. And then, just hours before the president's big speech, Iran's ambassador to the UK actually warned that they are considering strikes against British military bases. So you can see it's pulling in more players and more places.
So for our last section, let's switch gears and look at a direct message that came from the other side. Right before President Trump's speech, the president of Iran put out a letter, and it was addressed directly to the American people. And in it, he asked a very, very pointed question.
The letter asks, quote, "Is America first truly among the priorities of the U.S. government today?" It's a direct challenge to the president's own guiding philosophy, basically trying to paint this war as something that's not actually in the best interest of Americans.
So we're left with this massive puzzle. You have the commander-in-chief saying the mission is almost over, that the objectives are nearing completion, and that the war will end soon. But at the exact same time, he's promising to ramp up attacks, and we can all see the conflict is getting wider. So it leaves us with the one central unanswered question in all of this. What does soon really mean?